one, I saw somewhere where somebody very quickly shot down the Grand Prix or Grand Dam idea. And this is just an armchair detective. They said, why the hell? Because one of the stories that's out there is that Rick says he saw a man, spoke to a man.
Mm-hmm.
Stop me if I'm wrong. Spoke to a man, and there was a little girl in the back seat. Now, whatever vehicle, I get the Grand Am and Grand Prix mixed up. But regardless of which one it is, one of those vehicles is a 2-door vehicle, not a 4-door. And I believe he was describing the 2-door vehicle, not the 4-door, to which the armchair detective then very quickly shot down this whole idea of it possibly being true, saying, why the hell would the abductor put the kid in the back seat? Well, duh. Why wouldn't you? It prevents the child from fleeing. It prevents the child from running away, from getting away from you, more so than if you left her in the passenger seat where there's a door that she can access. So let's not shoot that down so quick. And then you said a van, which would be very interesting to me, because I'm currently, I've been revisiting some of the suspects in Amy's case. And that's what we're going to do on True Crime Garage. We're going to discuss some of these suspects in depth. And one person that I keep pulling off of the show that may or may not make it on the show is an individual that very likely would have been driving a van at this time. The van's weird for me. When you and I spoke a few weeks ago, I already had this person in mind. And you said, is there anything that you'd like to ask Spetzel? And I wanted to get the general dimensions of the curtain that they released 26 years after the fact. But from watching it on TV and seeing it in the paper, it's very obvious to me that the curtain was almost as tall as a regular person, probably 5 foot or so. But at the time, I was pondering the idea if the curtain could have been from a van, if it would have been shorter than what it looked on TV, shorter than what it looked in the paper. Some people that work out of vans, a lot of times you only have the windows in the front and in the very back.
Right.
And sometimes they will cover those windows or put up curtains that they can move and close and so forth and so on. One, just so that a potential thief doesn't see expensive items in the van and they're not provoked to bust out that window and steal the stuff that you have out of there. Also, there are, if a van curtain would be weird. That would have been very strange, because that would have put some other things into play here with this perpetrator. Because one thing we've talked about is that he would have wanted privacy. He would have chose Friday for the abduction for a purpose, because he doesn't have to be anywhere on Saturday. He doesn't have to be accounted for that Friday night. If the guy has a van with curtains in it, and those curtains, that gives him some different movement possibilities. That gives him some different privacy possibilities as well. Do you have any kind of idea or description of the van, or were you just saying van?
So no, I was just saying the van, but 3 foot by 5 foot was the dimension of the curtain that he had mentioned.
Yeah, so 5 foot tall, 3 foot wide.
Yeah, so I mean that would make sense. I mean, you could put it in a van. It's not like it's impractical, or even have it covering up the windows. But
yeah, seems unlikely with the length of it, though.
Yeah.
But Spetzel said something and you did a fantastic job on your interview with him, by the way. I thought that was, he's interesting to listen to anyway, but I thought the line of questioning was great. And I think that part of that is, one, your style, and two, this wasn't the first time you spoke with him. And I think Spetzel, like any good police chief, puts up a natural wall. And I think that you've built a relationship and were able to ask him some things and get him to open up on some things that he may not have with other people on a first time talk or a second time talk. But Spetzel said in regards to the curtain is he believes there's a match out there somewhere.
Yes, that's
very interesting because that's something I never thought of. And he's absolutely right. Given that it's only 3 foot wide, now it could have been something
like a small closet cover, but
we've talked about this because it would naturally fit a doorway or a closet, like you said. But if you were trying to use it for the purpose of anything larger than that, it would have a match. There would be
absolutely 2. Yeah, there would be 2. So somebody out there has that. I mean, that is pretty much why they put that curtain out there. Now, the one other thing that I did find interesting in my conversation with Spetzel was that there was not dog hair found on the blanket.
Right.
And I was under the impression that it had been. So,
well, I guess everybody just assumed that when they said there were hairs and fibers found on. Yeah. I almost feel like I want to say that they worded it in a way that you would believe them to have been found on both items.
That's why I believed that. I thought, but I mean, I'd have to go back and listen to the press conference again. But yeah, that part kind of surprised me. But again, like he said, it's a wind tunnel down there. Who knows where that came from? It could have had nothing to do with her case. But he said he also followed that up with, don't forget that it could have been out in the elements for that whole period of time, and think about how many